The headline for my story is J.K. Simmons addresses JJJ's film future. Actor J.K. Simmons spoke recently with People TV's Lola Aganake about his nerves during his initial audition for the role of Daily Bugle head honcho J. Jonah Jameson in Sam Raimi's 2002 film Spider-Man. And despite previously working with Raimi on 2 films, Simmons recounted still having to audition by reading for a scene in which he was being choked out by the Green Goblin after the supervillain crashed through his windows, the windows of his office. Now, Simmons' portrayal of the hot-headed bugle boss remains a hallmark of the Raimi Spider-Man films. He shocked webheads worldwide when he reappeared with a different iteration of the character during a mid-credit scene following the conclusion of 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home. When Oganake asked if the MCU and Spidey fans could expect to see his character show up again in future films, Simmons replied that expect may not be the correct word choice. He further explained that while he is signed on for multiple sequels, the studio is not obligated to include any of his scenes. His final words on the topic were, quote, "It's great to have the opportunity, as these things evolve, to be one of the holdovers from the previous version," end quote. And I just find it hard to believe, I understand, him laying everything out there that, I'm signed on and I'm going to film this stuff, but they're under no obligation from the studios to use it. But I'd find it hard to believe that he wouldn't, for 2 major reasons. Number one, he's the gold standard for the character. J.K. Simmons, when I think of J.K. Simmons, I think of J. Jonah Jameson and vice versa. It's next to impossible to replace him. And I had assumed, and, a lot of other Spider-Man fans had just assumed, because he was part of, the Raimi trilogy, which was 2 previous Spider-Man film franchises, that they were just not going to include him in this, storyline. Because he was impossible to recast that character, we just assumed, that he was not going to be used in these films. Hence, everyone's jaw hitting the theater floor, last summer when he showed up. The second reason that I would think that he will appear, in my opinion, is the actual scene that he's featured in is begging a continuation. Like the way it's set up right there. Just the ingenious way in which they incorporate, kind of like an InfoWars, type of character as JJJ, and just kind of repurposing that character for something more modern. And the fact that he is the one that spoils or Spider-Man's identity as Peter Parker to the public at large, he, in my opinion, has to be in future films.
Oh, I totally agree. J.K. Simmons is, you said it exactly right, the gold standard for that character. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm a little troubled in some aspects of the MCU Spider-Man movies, just because they don't oftentimes feel like Spider-Man. They feel a little bit like Iron Man Light or Iron Man Jr. in a lot of ways. So I'm hopeful that they're bringing in some of these more classic elements of the Spider-Man mythos for the next movie. Yeah, he's just fantastic. I have to say, it threw me off a little bit what they did with the hair, that he wasn't wearing a hairpiece as J.
Yeah.
Jonah Jameson, because his hair is almost as iconic a character as the character of J. Jonah Jameson himself. Yeah, the way they brought him into the movie was spot on. I know that in the comic books they've done a little bit of that before, where they got him out of the Bugle and had him be like a TV pundit for a little while. At one point he was like mayor of New York City in the comic books.
Yes.
So the character is definitely versatile and flexible enough to do something different with him moving forward. It's just a matter of if they're going to use him more in the future. I hope definitely that they do.